I was sitting back the other day and asked myself, Self, what's a movie you really liked but haven't seen in a long time? I thought about it and answered, why, Making Mr. Right, of course! Making Mr. Right is one of those movies you either really love or you never heard of it. It's one or the other. It's a movie that seems to have flown right under the radar, and for the life of me, I don't know why. On IMDb, it only gets 5.4 stars. I know it's not Citizen Kane, but it's better than that. This is a little romantic comedy from 1987, and really, it's kind of cool. And Magnuson stars as Frankie Stone. I misremembered this actress for years, 'cause I thought it was Annie Potts in Making Mr. Right, but it wasn't. They had a similar look, though. Not Annie Potts has been in a lot of stuff, so you've probably seen her before. Her latest work is a role in this show. That's kind of sad. But, maybe your next project will actually be good. Anyway, back in 1987, this was only her 8th film credit. She was a fresh face, and really good as Frankie Stone. The story opens with Frankie deciding to dump her boyfriend because he takes her for granted. She's a wizard PR expert, and we see her head into work where she meets a new client, a company that's building an android for a space mission. They can't send a human since the mission will last 7 years, and they don't think a human could handle the isolation. The trouble is, the company is worried that the government is going to cut their funding, so they want to hire not Annie Potts to publicize the android. The android, named Ulysses, is an exact look-alike for its creator, a scientist guy played by John Malkovich. Where have we seen this idea before, about 2 or 3 years later? The reason Ulysses looks just like his creator is because the scientist guy always longed to go into space and be an astronaut, but he knew he never could. So the android is going to get to do that for him, which is kind of sweet. The scientist guy is really good at engineering and other sciencey things, but not very good with people. So while the android can do a lot of stuff, it needs coaching in interacting with humans, so it can go on public appearances before the mission to drum up support and funding for the company. When not Annie Potts starts coaching the android, a funny thing happens. It falls in love with her. This is because Ulysses sees the world in very simple terms, and also has programmed into him a sense of curiosity, which he needs for exploring space. Of course, since Ulysses and the scientist guy are outwardly identical, there's the usual cases of mistaken identity and whatnot. But I gotta hand it to Malkovich. He plays both characters, but they have totally different personalities. The scientist is an uptight and nebbishy loser, and Ulysses is sweet and simple and curious. Both have distinct tics and mannerisms, too. The cast is rounded out by Glenn Headley, who was married to Malkovich at the time, who plays not Annie Potts' best friend, and Laurie Metcalf appears as a goofy, clingy, wannabe girlfriend trying to latch on to the scientist guy. There's also Polly Bergen. She was a big star in her day. Here she plays not Annie Potts' mom. Now, as I say, I really like this movie. I saw it years ago and found it charming and never forgot it. And it always was on my fave list. But, truth be told, for a romantic comedy, Making Mr. Right is not exactly a knee slapper as comedies go. There's only one or two scenes in particular I can think of where it brings the belly laughs, but the movie's humor is mostly mild throughout. In fact, the picture has this odd quality where you get the sense it's just sitting back and letting us observe events without getting in the way of itself. It's something you don't see often in Hollywood productions, but you do sometimes see in independent movies. It has that indie feel, and I kind of like that here. It works. Works for me, anyway. Also, they don't go into practically any detail about how Ulysses is constructed. They don't say his skeletal frame is made of molybdenum, or his brain is a positronic neural net, or he has a nuclear reactor for a power source, or any of that. And that's good, because it allows us to focus entirely on the character of Ulysses and just take the other stuff for granted. The film is prescient in two ways. First, the company execs show not Annie Potts some early footage of tests on Ulysses, teaching him how to walk, and early on, he couldn't do it very well. They explain it's really a very complex process, which is true. Walking is a thing we all take for granted, but the foremost cybernetic outfit going today, Boston Dynamics, still hasn't quite perfected it because it's so difficult to program. Second, we see Ulysses buying things on a computer. He can buy clothes, shoes, electronics, even a car. That's right, online shopping in 1987. The graphics they show are primitive, but he can search an electronic catalog of products, choose brands, models, colors, quantities, and pay for it all with the click of a mouse. Sound familiar? It's well known that Jeff Bezos likes sci-fi movies. I wonder if this is where the idea for Amazon came from. And in this movie, we even get to see a 1980s shopping mall. What's not to love? I give it 2.5 paws up. Actually, I'll give it 2 3/4 paws up. An extra quarter paw for being upbeat and memorable. I couldn't find it on Prime or Hulu or Netflix, but Amazon has the movie on DVD and Blu-ray, so you can get it. Making Mr. Right, from 1987. A fun, sweet little movie with an indie vibe. And a movie you should see. Well, that's all I've got for now. You be sure to take care of yourselves, okay? And you can click and like and subscribe and ring the thing and fling the bling and whatever else. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye! Bozos totally stole from this movie. Totally.